Welcome to Wednesday. It's episode 3 of Penn and CJ, a midweek podcast. Oh boy, it's snowing. It's April. This comes out the day. This is recorded the day before it comes out, and it is April, and it is snowing in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
I wonder if this is what it feels like to be in Florida, because it's completely sunny right now. Sunny, everything's in bloom. I'm definitely getting Florida vibes.
Where you are,
Yeah.
it's all beautiful where you are.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to get 2 to 4 inches of snow.
Well,
That's
maybe it'll...
I don't care for that.
uh,
Okay, well, how are you, CJ?
d doing all right. Allergies through the roof. Final season coming up, but other than that, I'm hanging in there, doing pretty well.
Well, that's excellent. Anything fun happened this week? Any interesting stories?
Um, not particularly that I can immediately recall. It's mostly just been... Oh, we got to do a crossover activity with one of my living learning community classes where it was just my class and it's another. Mine was environmental justice. The other one was a student advocacy class. Grouped up. It was a joint class session where we just discussed the overlap and just especially the I don't know if you've heard of the Sunrise Movement, but
No, but quick question.
yeah,
I don't know if I misheard you. You said student democracy or student advocacy?
advocacy.
Okay.
Yeah, however you
Sorry.
pronounce it. Mine's always been yeah. Anyway,
Okay, go on.
but no, I was going over the Sunrise Movement and the push for the new Green Deal.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I know that stuff is interesting to you. Not that it isn't
Mhm.
to me, I just don't keep up with it nearly to the extent that you do. I've been trying to be better about the news ever since we started this podcast, you know? Uh
Yeah.
It's weird to think that because this is a weekly thing, it'll have been a month by next episode.
Holy cow, that is weird.
Mhm. I was thinking about it, and it's like episode, 52, we'll have been doing this for a year.
Oh boy,
I
that'll be
hope we
pretty intense.
I hope we get there, I wanna keep doing this for as long as possible.
Mhm.
Um, as for my week, I wrapped up my time at my previous job working for a pizza place, and I started working for Starbucks.
Woohoo! Glad to
Uh
hear it. How's it looking at Starbucks?
The instances are few and far between where I feel so very welcome in a place so very quickly, but they're right up my alley. Everybody's there. They're so nice. It
Right
took me
on.
forever to make friends at 800, the pizza place where I worked, but I've already struck it off with these people and my trainer. Like even the adults are very much, friendly, easy to get along with.
Yeah. That sounds very similar to my situation at Gordon's, just as a singular experience. Starting off at the first, there were basically over my 3 years there, a first group and a second group of employees because we had a turnover period. But the first time it was like you said at 800 degrees. I barely connected with anyone. No one really talked. It was a very isolated environment. And then the second half, everyone hit it off. We were hanging out on the weekends, stuff like that. But no, yeah, it's definitely good to find places you fit in that well when you go to work because there's no joy in a hostile work environment.
Absolutely not. Yeah, for sure. Um, it's good though. I'm enjoying it already. Um, I think this is gonna be good.
Awesome.
But you say like there was a turnover period, and that makes me laugh because I feel like the entire time I was at 800 was a turnover period. 3 years of people coming and going, so very so it was so liquid.
Mhm.
Like the friends I have are the people that were there the whole time I was. Um, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to going back tomorrow and training some more. They I've only ever worked evenings for like the entirety of my time in the workforce, but I'll be working some weekend afternoons, and well, as a coffee shop, I know that's going to be insane.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck on that. Oh man.
Okay, so like previous episodes, there are some things that I want to talk about. You have an article that you sent to me about T-Rexes. But yeah, so I've got a lineup. But let's start with, and I'm going to, I'm going to quiz you.
All right.
The New York Times has provided, as of the 15th, a weekly health quiz about COVID vaccines, virus variants, and safer travel. 7 questions. So, number 1. True or false? Current COVID vaccines are effective in protecting people against severe disease caused by coronavirus variants.
Caused by variants? No.
False. That's your answer?
Yes.
Okay. I'll give you your score at the end. Federal health authorities paused use of this COVID vaccine following rare reports of blood clots in the brain. Moderna, Pfizer
Johnson and
BioNTech,
Johnson.
Johnson and Johnson. Okay, you knew that one.
Yeah, I know that one.
Number 3, a study of COVID-19 and exercise found that compared to those who rarely work out, people who exercise regularly were A, less likely to test positive, B, more likely to get sick, C, less likely to be hospitalized or die from COVID, and or D, exercise had little effect on COVID severity.
Can you run me through that one more time?
Yes, the question was, a study of COVID-19 and exercise found that compared to those who rarely work out, people who exercise regularly were A, less likely to test positive for coronavirus, B, more likely to get sick from coronavirus, C, less likely to be hospitalized for COVID and to die from it, or D, exercise had little effect on severity.
I'm gonna go with C.
Less likely to be hospitalized or die from it?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 4. Independent of wearing a mask, experts estimate that this airline measure reduces travelers' exposure to airborne coronavirus by 23 to 57%. Is it A, revamping the plane's ventilation system, B, keeping the middle seat empty, C, restricting flights to 50% capacity, or D, requiring that all passengers have been fully vaccinated?
I believe that it was the middle seat being kept open.
Okay, that's your answer?
That is my answer.
Number 5. Deaths from this cause surged during the pandemic, contributing to more than 87,000 deaths among Americans over a 12-month period. Is it A, car accidents, B, smoking, C, vaccine side effects, or D, drug overdoses?
B, smoking.
Number 6. Alcohol use rose during the pandemic, with this group disproportionately affected. A, teenagers, B, women and parents of young children, C, middle-aged men, or D, people over 60.
What was the question again?
Alcohol use rose during the pandemic, with this group disproportionately affected.
Women and small children.
Women and parents of young children. I
No,
think
I'm
that's the
kidding. Okay, so read off the answers again. I
A,
thought it said young children. I thought I'd make a
teenagers,
joke.
B, women and parents of young children. Good try. C, middle-aged men. D, people over 60.
I'm gonna go with B or C. B or C. I'm gonna go with B.
Women and parents of young children.
Yeah.
Got it. 7. True or false? Federal guidelines now say that it is generally safe for kids to have play dates with others outside of their pods. Pods. Pardon?
Pods.
Pods are we cryogenically freezing the children to preserve the future generations? What's going on here? Why wasn't I informed about this? I want to get frozen.
Well, I mean, we could look at it as pods of like, small groups, but that doesn't. I mean, I guess true. I haven't kept up with the
True?
policy towards children. Yeah, I'm gonna go with true.
Okay. Are you ready for your score?
Sure.
You got 4 out of 7 correct.
Dang it.
Let's go over
What'd I
what you did
miss?
wrong. Number 1, it is actually true that the COVID vaccine can protect you against virus variants,
I
apparently.
thought that doesn't make sense. Like with the flu
There's a
vaccine,
follow-up article. So let's look at this. Vaccines do a good job of protecting us from coronavirus, but fear and confusion about the rise of variants have muddled the message. Here are the answers to common questions by Tara Parker Pope, citing um, Dr. Eric Topol, um, was talking about how people are disproportionately afraid of variants, which it's not that you shouldn't be afraid of variants to a pandemic, but apparently, um, for the vaccinated, the outlook is much more hopeful. While it's true that the vaccines have different success rates against different variants, the perception that they don't work against variants at all is incorrect. In fact, the available vaccines have worked remarkably well so far, not just at preventing infection, but most important, at preventing serious illness and hospitalization, even as new variants circulate the globe. So I think the
That
real answer is remains to be seen.
Yeah, because the question's way too ambiguous on that.
Mm-hmm.
The question asks for a yes or no answer, and from what the article supports, it's we don't know. We are not. It's it depends. So I don't like that question simply
No.
because of the
Yeah.
fact that it puts you on that arbitrary line.
Yeah. Okay. The next one you
But
missed was question 5. Deaths from this cause surged during the pandemic, contributing to more than 87,000 deaths among Americans over a 12-month period. You said smoking. The answer was drug overdoses.
gotcha. It came down to either one of those two. I thought smoking because of correlation to the coronavirus, but thinking about it, they probably just put that complications due to smoking leading to death due to the coronavirus under the general illness category. So
Okay.
yeah, drug overdose would have been the next most likely response.
Okay. And you missed the last question. True or false? Federal guidelines now say that it is generally safe for kids to have play dates with other kids outside their pods. Now, here's why I don't think you really missed it, though. Because it says to learn more, read "You're vaccinated, your kids are not, what now?" That's the title of the article. It's making an assumption that the
hmm
adults in the family are vaccinated, but the children are not, and so that's what it's basing that on, but it didn't give you that information, so this quiz really kinda worked against you.
Yeah, but
Okay, but, so let's pull up the calculator, see what your grade was.
oh, funny.
4 divided by 7.
See, he only does this because he knows it causes me pain. Causes me pain.
You got a 57%.
Yeah, that hurt.
Alright,
Takes me back to that AP Euro reading quiz we took in January.
right, right. Um, let's look at your article now.
All right,
The tipping point. First T-Rex mass death site in southern U.S. found in Utah strengthens evidence of pack behavior. Um,
this was
no.
interesting. If I may summarize.
No, allow me.
All
I'm
right,
gonna tell you what I think this article is about.
go ahead.
So it says, the first T-Rex mass death site, math death site,
I
um,
mean, I
found
wouldn't blame him.
in Utah, strengthening evidence of pack behavior. This, to me, tells me that the reason dinosaurs were killed off so quickly in Utah was because of the pack behavior of the Church of Latter-day Saints. The Mormons and the pagans
Exactly.
ran around
Okay.
hunting dinosaurs after they crawled out of the Salt Lake. Am I correct?
You couldn't be further off, but I mean,
No,
nice
I
try.
feel like I could be. Do you want me to try?
No, no, we're
Okay,
good.
all
That's
right, go
fine.
ahead.
No, but the article is just generally going over this is the third site of finding around or over a dozen T-Rex fossils. The others were in Montana, and I don't remember where the other. I think they both might have been in Montana. But point being, I feel like, especially because the article goes over, like you read on the title, that it's an indicator of pack-like behavior.
That's
My
curious to me.
Right, because
The
looking at ecosystems, the T-Rex would have fit into the apex predator slot, and you don't
precisely.
usually, and especially with the size that it was at, there would have been no advantage to it having been in a pack hunting
Right.
situation. I do think it's possible that they had more social behavior than was previously anticipated, whether it be gathering in large groups for mating or what have you, and perhaps during the extinction level event, they died during that phase. Um, but no, I don't think it's sufficient evidence for like pack hunting behavior, because like with velociraptors and other smaller predators like that, it makes sense because they're like wolves where they're not overtly powerful on their own, but in groups they can be incredibly deadly. And as awesome as it is to think of a, pack of T Rexes running around, it just doesn't fit into I guess our ecosystem. It might have been different back then, but even the herbivores we've seen are all smaller than the T Rex, barring Brachiosaurus or whatever, certain herbivores.
Right, but just thinking geographically, it would only make sense for them to be few and spread out.
Right,
Because if they all stayed in the one area, they'd have to constantly move from area to area to find food, and that would be inefficient. So if they were
right,
spread out, they could all hunt independently. They wouldn't be relying on gathering as much for the pack, you know? Um,
right.
so it would make sense that they weren't pack-like, but I can kind of agree with like the mating season idea that you brought up.
Mhm.
Um, but that makes me think, imagine you're going it's that time of year, you're about to go on a hot date, and you go and meet up, and a burning hot asteroid just fucking slams into the planet, and you're like, "This isn't what I meant by a hot date."
Oh dear.
I also like that on this article, there's something that says, "monkey dactyl," and a link to another site that says, "Scientists discovered Jurassic-era flying reptiles with oldest opposed thumbs." And I'm not gonna read that one because it goes straight back to the ABC, and I'm not doing that.
No.
Um, or USA Today or whatever, and I'm not turning off my ad block. Okay. But yeah, so cool. So we know that while dinosaurs were trying to get hot and heavy, something hot and heavy got them.
I like that one. I like that one. I might end up stealing that.
Thank you. All
No
right.
problem.
All right. Here's what I want to talk about next. Now, I sent you this picture early on, but there is a photo of a bumper sticker that, oh my god, it made me laugh so hard. So I'm gonna pull it up. You can probably find it in the Discord chat.
Yeah.
Um, so it says, yeah, and I'm gonna put the picture up, but as you can see, it says, "You have your family, I have mine," and it's ranging from, and I will get these wrong, a Barrett 50,
Yep.
M16,
Yep.
AK-47,
Yep.
A11 or A12, A10 maybe,
I'm not
anywhere
sure on
between
that
there.
one. Yeah.
Uh, 9 millimeter, and a hand grenade. Now, this has a couple of interpretations that I want to look at in terms of like the family tree here, and because that obviously we can get into the politics of it, and I'm sure we will in a moment. But I want to look at the family tree and how I interpreted it in a couple of different ways. So the initial way I looked at it was the Barrett 50 cal and the M16 hooked up and produced four children. The AK, the the shotgun, the 9 millimeter, and the hand grenade. But then that makes me think that um maybe the Barrett 50 cal and the M16 only gave birth to the AK, the shotgun, and the hand grenade, and little Miss M16 found her way around a C4.
Oh dear.
Yeah, or
No.
um the Barrett 50 cal and the M16 gave birth to the AK-47, who married the shotgun, and the hand grenade and the pistols are their kids.
Or
And
they
I
could
just
be the pets. But
have you met her hamster? Boom!
no.
Oh
But
my.
oh, that hurts. No,
Okay.
but that extends into the idea of gun rights. We both talk. We're both in support of this having a Second Amendment, the
Yes. I also believe
constitutionally
in
allowing that.
common sense gun laws.
Uh huh.
I'm not unreasonable. but
Mhm.
shall not be infringed seems a little aggressive.
Yeah.
Not that we're should take it away, and not that I almost feel like you're not really infringing it by just putting in common sense gun laws because 'cause you're not losing access to the guns unless you're someone who should be losing access to the guns, assuming
Mhm.
we do this correctly.
Right. And then there's also the pattern of what was it? There's a bumper sticker I saw years ago that I actually found. When you're trying to inform people that you do have access to a weapon, it's because you want them to know that you can defend yourself. Typically, if you're doing so in a lawful manner. One of the bumper stickers I saw was on the back. It said, I have the guns. Come and get them," which I thought was kind of a weird thing to put on the back of your car. But then I thought, bear in mind, people will do the when you're in a parking lot, block you in so they can try to rob you, or they'll try to follow you to your neighborhood into your neighborhood and tr- rob you there, stuff like that. So it's not necessarily as irrational as say this one, where
Mhm. I just
it's
I like to think that, I like to think that they have that bumper sticker on the back of their car, and they're just out running errands one day, and, like, they look over and there's a guy in a black van staring at them, and then they go home and, like, a couple days later, it's just That's what I like
oh
to
my
imagine.
goodness.
Um,
Oh, well,
yeah,
there's another
so
point here too.
mhm,
I typically think of using weapons like firearms for self-defense,
right.
and I cannot, for the life of me, imagine under what circumstance a Barrett 50 cal would help with defending my home.
If it's not a zombie apocalypse, you don't need an M16. I understand a handgun. I intend to own a handgun at some point.
Myself as well. Even a shotgun, depending on where you live or what your profession is.
You just
It
have
could
a
be.
safe with a shotgun in it. Not like I don't need to break it
Oh,
out unless it's a problem, you know?
right, right,
Keep
yeah.
it under the bed or
But
something.
no, it's like even with myself going to become a lawyer, I am definitely going to have the right to carry and conceal,
Mhm.
because even dealing in civil court, it's easy to interact with irrational people who may end up trying to do something,
Right.
and it just helps with sleeping better at night, I guess, knowing
Right.
that I've a way to protect myself and those I care about.
Absolutely. And like people make the argument, and maybe I'm being a little too general here, but people make the argument that you have to prepare for the worst case scenario. But if you're an everyday citizen, I don't think like there are shootings, right? That is a problem. It's an epidemic in our nation.
Oh yeah, we're
I
seeing that
don't
right now.
think that the worst case scenario outside of like extreme circumstances like that, which okay, hold on. I'm going to reapproach that sentence. Because that is the worst case scenario. However, if I don't think you need to return fire on M16 with an M16 if you already know how to use the handgun you have. And
Hmm.
no, you're not walking around strapped with an M16 if you're a law-abiding citizen. So you may as well just abide to the laws and let them. And like, we're not going to take away the Second Amendment. I don't, or I hope we're not. But just
Hmm.
keep a handgun and be ready and know how to use it. Don't have a handgun and not know how to use it. By the way, guys.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely
Oh,
don't have a handgun and not know how to use it.
I can tell you the story about the lawyer who managed to kill himself on accident while defending a client and showing how the person they were accused of murdering may have shot themselves because they weren't aware of the gun they were using. It's just firearms are deadly weapons. It doesn't matter if the safety's on or off.
Right.
You know.
And it speaks to how delicate of a situation it is that I'm having so much trouble just talking about it.
Hmm.
Usually I'm not too I stumble over my words, but just because my brain is no good empty sometime. But oftentimes when I have an opinion about something, I'm not afraid to share it. But
Hmm.
I feel like I had to step carefully there.
Yeah.
But
Well,
this is our
because
podcast, and we'll talk about what we want to.
right. But there are people that are very passionate about, being able to own weapons, and on a level I can respect that. It is a constitutional right, and you're entitled to your beliefs. That being said, there's also the matter of, like you said, common sense, or just in general, the bene bene beneficial measures to prevent large scale disaster. Pardon my stutter. It's
Absolutely, yeah.
you know you have to take a rational approach because there are people out there who will take an irrational approach, and that's where the danger occurs.
Mhm.
Because there
The
are completely rational people out there who do own, Barrett 50s or M16s. Very rational. They're not going to use them except for like what you're talking about with the perceived worst case scenario. And I don't have an issue with that. It's when it's, people who are not rational getting their hands on weapons and going to shoot up FedEx in Indianapolis. Where else have we had the supermarket in, was it Wisconsin or Colorado? Just,
yeah.
oh, what was it? I'm going to look something up. You can keep talking. This is
Okay.
something.
Um, these the self-proclaimed Second Amendment warriors. Now, I'm not sure if that term came up as a derogatory term that people used against them, or if they brought that up themselves, but they definitely own it. Like, I know there's people in the world that are like, "Yeah, I'm a Second Amendment warrior." It's like the second you step over advocate, if it's not being directly violated, is where you're going wrong.
Hmm. Let's see. This was something that was brought to my attention earlier on. I'm looking at a Guardian article right now, but uh, there's a Texas bill right now. I don't know if you've heard anything about it.
Oh God.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, it's Texas bill to carry gun without permit,
Just let everybody have a gun.
basically.
Yeah, no.
Which
Hello,
is
sir. I'd like to purchase a handgun. Okay. Do you have a permit? Nope, don't need it. Your record here says that you have a history of violence. Have a nice day.
it's just on the one hand, this is Texas. They're again Lone Star State, very
They're
different mentality,
they're the worst case
but
scenario.
it's just that's a very, very big temptation of the Supreme Court's interpretation of the Second Amendment.
Yeah,
That's very dangerous, especially with the present day situation going on. If that goes through and it gets brought to say, the appellate court, the Supreme Court, whatever, it's going to be seen. It's going to be treated with extreme prejudice just because of the modern situation we're dealing with.
right. Um,
But
yeah, that's pretty much as deep into that as I wanted to get. I'm going
yeah,
to
same here.
move. Let's move on onto a more lighthearted note, or maybe not, depending on how volatile you react to this. Because here's another image that's going to end up on screen. So the reason I had you watch a video about Snapchat, by one of my favorite YouTubers, Drew Gooden, and I will link his video in the description because it talks a lot about part of what it just goes into details, a little bit of context about why I have this image. But I was
Looks
scrolling
disgusting.
Snapchat. I
Looks
was
absolutely
scrolling
disgusting.
Snapchat, and so you know how it has like random people's like stories over there that aren't pertinent. It's not news. It's not entertainment. It's just some guy. And I decided to click on one.
Oh no.
And this is what I found, CJ.
What is that? Cheese
It's
gravy?
like it's like Kraft singles melted over a fucking Pop-Tart.
Oh,
A strawberry Pop-Tart at that, I think, or a blueberry.
that looks like one of the mixed berries,
Mm.
strawberry and blueberry. It's just not good. Oh, that
Uh,
just doesn't look right.
so you have your American cheese laid out over the Pop-Tart and melted, and the caption is low key good ASF, which is really fucking funny. Okay, let me just roast them for that. ASF. If you say ASF instead of just AF, you're the dumbest person. AF, like I get abbreviations and like making communication more efficient in the digital era. That's pretty much all that is. But people who think that like it's like good ASF, that's like me saying SMH my head. It's already good. AF means as fuck. So ASF it's as fuck, but it's like as fuck.
It's just
Unless that
looking.
S means something, but I can't perceive what it would mean as shit fuck.
I just looked it up, and it's not supposed to be there. The more common version is AF. My big
Right.
problem is that for me, you know me, I don't usually know what the letters mean in text speech, so I'll have to actually look it up. And looking at that, even I was like, what does the S stand for? It just didn't make sense.
It just as, but like the way it's supposed to be the abbreviation, so it's ASF. It's not. It's as, because as soon as you put the S in there, it just throws everything off.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the point. The point
No.
is, this man's had the audacity to melt cheese on a Pop-Tart and say Loki good ASF. And I can only hope that they're joking. But if you do this and if you think this is good, comment down below and then never show your face here again.
He's
What the
kidding.
hell is wrong with you?
Oh dear. Wait, did he do it on a paper plate? Is that a paper plate?
Either that or styrofoam.
Oh gosh. That's something
Yes.
I would do. That's something
That
what you put in a paper plate in the microwave, not the cheese thing.
right.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
you don't. Yeah. So did he toast them first, or did he just throw the straight Pop Tarts in the microwave? Because that's not how that's supposed to go. None of this is how. No, this isn't how any of this works. Look, I just feel like if I ever went to talk to this guy, it'd be like,
Oh, hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
and I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Wow. Anyways, yeah. So I just wanted to share that with the world. Any thoughts, CJ?
Yeah, why?
Me too. All right. What are we at? 30 minutes. We are 30 minutes deep, and I have two more things I want to talk about. Let's watch a 7-minute video. So I was on Twitter,
Oh no.
and I found this video, and you may already be aware of it. This is an argument between. This is from. Oh crap. Is it NBC that has the logo that's the eye?
I believe so. That
I can
sounds
just
right.
close out of here.
Yeah, you wanna
I can just look at this. Yeah, CBS. My bad.
It is CVS. Okay.
Mhm. Um, and this is an argument between Representative Jordan and Dr. Fauci. That just, and we're gonna take it scene by scene and kind of dive into it. So I don't know. You've already heard the video, but I'll just bring it up as we go.
The chair now recognizes Mr. Jordan for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr.
So
Chairman.
Mr.
Dr.
Jordan
Fauci,
has
when is the
Mr. Jordan has 5 minutes to ask stuff and talk, and he immediately just starts off with,
time?
"When is the time?" I think is that what he said? When is the time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Fauci,
It
when
was
is the
something
time?
along those
Yeah.
lines. Yeah.
When is the time? He says. Dead silence.
When is the time?
When is the time? He says it again. No context. Just when is the time? I assume there must be like prior context before this clip, but like,
Yeah, no, especially when it's in a government proceeding, there's stuff they don't show
Well, in
on
your written
camera.
statement, you say now is not the time to pull back on
But-
masking, physical distancing, and avoiding congregate settings. When is the time? When do Americans get their freedom back?
when do Americans get their freedom back? Because they're not allowed. They have to wear masks, and even though that's not mandated in a lot of states anymore, and they have to be 6 feet apart from people. Which I don't know about you, but I'm not too eager to get within 6 feet of a lot of people.
Can you put your
Oh,
microphone
dear.
on, please?
When we get the level of infection in this country low enough that it is not a really high threat.
What is low enough?
So Fauci gives a reasonable answer, given the scope of a pandemic that we haven't encountered before. When we get the level of infection low enough that it's not a big threat, which makes sense. You know, that's the common sense answer.
Give me a number. What I mean, we had 15 days to slow the spread, turned into 1 year of lost liberty.
15 days to slow the spread turned into a year of lost liberty. Lost liberty, pardon? What? So you can't walk up to people and you have to wear a mask and you have to be careful about where you go.
What metrics, what measures, what has to happen before
Yeah.
Americans get their freedoms back?
My message, Congressman Jordan, is to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as we possibly can to get the level of infection in this country low that it is no longer a threat. That is when. And I believe when that happens, you will see.
What determines when?
What determines when, he asks, after Fauci immediately says, get as many people vaccinated so that the level of infection is no longer a threat. That is when. What determines when?
I'm sorry.
What? What measure? I mean,
What measure, CJ?
Mm-hmm.
are we just going to
It's
continue?
one of the things I want to point out with this as well is that this is like any interview you watch on TV. You can't, for one thing, I very much agree with you on the fact that Fauci's giving reasonable responses to the questions. Jim Jordan's pushing similar questions over and over again. But part of the intricacies of argument like that, of I would call it debate, is that it's like cross-examination in a debate. You're trying to give non-answers and just run out the clock, especially in Fauci's position. Um,
Well, I don't think he's trying to run out the clock. I just don't think there's any metrics that we can give, like a number. Like how many people have to be vaccinated before the spread isn't as bad? We don't know. Things
right,
change. Things have
right.
obviously changed. It was 15 days to slow the spread.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what Jim Jordan's also, playing at, or not playing at, but vocalizing, is that there is a lot of frustration out there. There's a lot of just, supposed to be 15 days, and now all of a sudden we've been in, COVID precautions for a year now. We're done wearing the masks. Heck, I can't see a foot in front of my face without my glasses on, and wearing the mask makes that awful. But at the same time,
It's not
we have to
about
get,
yeah,
yeah.
Mr. Jordan and to everybody who is an anti-masker, it's not about you. It's not.
Mhm.
Earlier on in the pandemic, I saw something on my Instagram before I rid myself of most social media, except for Twitter and Snapchat for the sake of talking to people. But I saw something posted by a teacher who was very near and dear to my heart. Somebody I had in my senior year. She taught me AP Language and Composition. Now on her Instagram story, she had posted a picture, and the caption was, "Don't judge somebody for not wearing a mask. You don't know their story. You don't know their story, so you should not judge them for putting other people at risk."
I remember this ticked you off a lot,
Oh,
and
I
I think,
was pissed about that because
uh-huh.
I love this teacher. She's so kind. She just isn't realistic. Like,
Mhm.
that comment alone just showed ignorance, like, to a level that I'd never seen from her before. She's supposed to be so wise. She generally is so wise. She's given me life lessons that I've held on to. But that post, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Well, and it's one of those things where you would take that into application is, if you see someone not wearing it, don't, don't engage with hostility. Don't try accusing them or engage, be extremely just mean in general, aggressive towards them. You know, bear in mind that they are a person with emotions as well, but that doesn't mean, stand by, nor be complacent with their not lack of empathy, but just general.
Ignorance.
Yeah, yeah. And but at the same time, I think that's one of the biggest problems we have with social media, is that a lot of the tone, a lot of the hidden meaning of what we say gets lost, because it could have very well been she meant something along those lines, but because, and this is a general
And
statement
that
for
would
most
make more
social media,
sense.
right? And it would be, I had this teacher as well. It would have been a lot more conducive to her character, to her temperament, and to her
Just
ideology. But we lose that. You lose that in social media because no one can hear your tone. It
don't
doesn't matter
yeah,
how many emojis or pictures you use. It's.
it's like, don't judge somebody for not wearing a mask because you don't know their story. That
It
phrasing, the
comes
implications of
across.
that phrasing, like, she's an
Uh-huh.
English major, she knows how to phrase stuff, and she chose that phrasing, which makes me think she just posted it without thinking.
Which is another plague on social media is.
The hopeless optimism and
Mhm.
on the other and negativity um has forced a lot of people into just throwing content at the wall and waiting for it to stick.
Mhm.
I don't know. Let's keep watching the video.
this forever? Or when
No.
do we get to the point? What measure, what standard, what objective outcome do we have to reach before Americans get their liberty and freedoms back?
You know, you're indicating liberty and freedom. I look at it as a public health measure to prevent people from dying and going to the hospital.
You don't think Americans' liberties have been threatened the last year, Dr. Fauci? They've been assaulted.
Our liberties have been assaulted, Mr. Jordan says.
Their liberties have.
I don't look at this as a liberty.
That's
thing,
another element
Congressman.
of again, your dialogue in an interview like that, just taking the more aggressive, or in this case defensive stance, using violent or more vibrant diction. Problem being, again, have our liberties been assaulted or simply impaired? And in the state of an emergency, impaired liberties are almost necessary in a democracy. Look at the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest presidents of the United States, suspended a constitutional right, the writ of habeas corpus, amongst others, because of the fact that the Union would not have been able to function or win the Civil War without him having done that. But at the same time, yeah, liberties were impeded. There was,
It just
constraint of Americans' rights. Does that mean, was that action justified? In that case, yeah. In this case, it's saving lives. You have to be conscientious of how you allow liberties to be impaired, but as far as whether or not they're being assaulted, like under constant attack from the government, not necessarily. Especially because they've left a lot of things like mask mandates or whatever, what have you, up to individual states getting to decide and choose for themselves.
right. And I know that I recognize your attempt to give a benefit of the doubt on the context of argumentative methods for Mr. Jordan. To me, this is just blatant aggression and ignorance on his part. I understand that it's patriotic in his intention, and he thinks he's defending the people by attacking one of the people who is leading us towards being done with this whole shit. That's just what I think.
And that was one of the bigger things for me as well, with the prior Trump administration's response to the pandemic. We've had these conversations before. I adhered to Trump's policies on international relations and economics. However, when it came to his response to the pandemic, it was just very disappointing, especially insofar as he kept on butting heads with Fauci.
Yeah.
Which the biggest problem there even being, as a leader, it's perfectly fine to butt heads with other people, especially during a crisis under your administration. But to do so publicly is an issue, because that says to the public that you have no faith in the people you've chosen to lead them.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not getting emotional. My allergies are very bad.
That's fine. You're fine. I'm gonna keep playing the
But
video.
gotcha. Yeah, if you want to keep going, I'm gonna get a
Jordan,
drink
Well,
of
that's
water.
obvious.
As a
Go ahead.
public health thing.
But
I disagree with you
you
on
think
that.
the Constitution is suspended during a virus, during a pandemic? It's certainly not.
This will end for sure when we get the level of infection very low. It is now at such a high level. There's a threat again of major surge.
Dr. Fauci, over the last year, Americans' First Amendment rights have been completely attacked. Your right to go to church, your right to assemble, your right to petition your government, freedom of the press, freedom of speech have all been assaulted.
Okay. Mr. Jordan just made the argument that our freedom of speech or the First Amendment has been violated. I will walk into my opinion on this by explaining that I am in fact a journalist major. I believe in the First Amendment more strongly than any amendment in the Constitution. Your right to go to church has obviously been violated. Yes. You can't go to church, but it's not the right to go to church. It's the right to practice religion openly and freely. Under the context that it doesn't hurt anybody. And he's saying that you can't go to church. You can watch church, There's been like digital broadcasted sermons and mass forever. Like sometimes my girlfriend goes to mass on video call like every week. Like it's not, or multiple times a week. I don't know how Catholicism works. I'm going to be honest. But yeah, so your right to practice religion and in the same sense, like, assemble like, you don't have to assemble physically to make a change, or in the context of what he's arguing, uh, you don't have to assemble physically to bring about, like, uh, protest. Like, there's so many ways to do that that don't require you breaking down the gates of the Capitol building.
Right. Which, and I will extend on, not being able to go to church. It has been, when I go to church, it's to connect with other people. And I know for countless other Christians that, or frankly, any other religion, when you go to gather, you're gathering so you can connect with others. Because, your religion, your beliefs are what you practice, between yourself and your God. But when it comes to interacting with the other believers, it comes to, you're there in church to talk with them. So being online has been consistently frustrating, but at the same time, especially in like older churches and etc., there are people with already underlying health conditions, elderly individuals, and just very many vulnerable people. So
Yeah,
it's a
okay.
frustration because of the two conflicting sides.
I can see that. Okay. I can understand that. I'm still learning a lot about religion, more
Hmm.
specifically Catholicism, as my relationship with my girlfriend deepens. But on that note, our anniversary was 2 days ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we've been together a year at this point, and I'm very happy about that. Now, here's what I wanted to get to. I'll just skip to the end because it's just this going back and forth.
Yeah.
We're gonna skip to about 6 minutes and 30 seconds, as it's supposed to be wrapping up. Like, no, this started with his 5 minutes, and it's a 7-minute video. But here, the last 30 seconds. If it will load. Uh, hello? Hello?
Video having issues?
Yeah, it's not loading. It's not loading. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Skettios.
I heard you were going to skip and it took personal offense.
Basically, it just ends with him. Like, I'm just gonna skip ahead because we're at 45 minutes and I still want to talk about one more thing.
Right.
Representative Maxine Walters just tells him to shut his mouth because his time's up. And that's
Hmm.
funny to me. Okay, actually, I have two more things, but I'm just gonna get through. We'll take a little bit of time on the first one, and then I'll just bounce into the second one because it's just the send off I want to give. Um, so we've had the problems with allegations against people with pedophilic misconduct and
Oh boy, yeah. The Gates scandal at this point.
yeah, the Gates scandal as a more specific example. And I don't really want to talk about that one, but I do want to refer
Yeah.
to another public figure of notability that was recently accused of misconduct in this manner. Um, Pennywise responds to allegations of improper conduct.
Who's that?
I, Pennywise the Clown, who lives in Derry, Maine, would like to set the record straight about my conduct with minors.
Oh no.
I have never, ever engaged in illegal activities as an adult man, for I am actually an extraterrestrial monster in the corporeal form of a clown. These sick and twisted lies are being perpetrated by the deep state of Derry, Maine. These corrupt residents want nothing more than to destroy my name so they can prevent me from terrorizing the town and feasting on their children every 27 years. Clearly, I am the victim of a smear campaign. Every day, the mainstream town paper claims that I lure children with balloons, beguile them with promises that we all float down here, and maintain a tower of bones in my underground lair. I am outraged that they would make these accusations based on strong evidence that I eat children. There has been one man in particular who has been out to get me. He denies that he has any connection to these rumors whatsoever, but I know it's him and not the town at large. Do I live in an underground nest? Yes. Unlike these elitist, partisan parents try to take me down, I'm a hardworking, simple man who happens to live in a sewer, and it is my God-given right to hunt people down in my own house if I want to. Did I have inappropriate conduct with minors? Look, I'll be honest, I'm not a monk, but I can confidently say that I'm a shapeshifter who can manifest into your scariest nightmares and devour you in one harrowing gulp. In regards to that time I saw young George playing with his paper boat on the street, was it inappropriate of me to call him from the storm drain? And when his tiny little arm happened to fall right into my razor sharp mouth, was that my fault? And was it my fault again when I did the same thing to all the other kids in this town, generation after generation? You tell me. Clearly, this investigation is about the kid-eating clown, not the crime. And now, of all things, people are looking into my Venmo history. Surely I am no different than any other American who enjoys Venmo for the convenience and the lack of paper trail. Okay, yes, I made several payments to an acquaintance with a shady past, but as you can see from the descriptions, these purchases were completely innocuous. Look at my Venmo charges and tell me if balloons and buzzsaws for teeth sharpening don't seem like the purchases of an honest American. If anything, these payments indicate that I'm trying to ensure our children's well-being, because without them, I'd had nothing to subsist on every 27 years. If you still don't believe me, then go ahead and ask all the female clowns who have my back. I have no doubt they can vouch for my character as a flesh-eating monster. They will confirm that not once have I ever misbehaved or gnawed on a plump, juicy arm in their presence. Now, if you'll please excuse me, I have some kids to terrorize.
Oh my gosh, what is that from?
It's from McSweeney's.net, daily humor almost every day since 1998. I'm definitely going to be going back to that website.
Oh, that was
This
hilarious.
article was sent to me by my girlfriend yesterday, saying, if you want to talk about something on the podcast, here you go. And obviously, I'm not going to say no to that.
Oh.
Oh, that's so funny. All right, yeah, so I wanted to share that article.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, what's going on with Gates is no laughing matter, but
Oh, no,
at least
absolutely
we can
not.
laugh at Pennywise the clown. Okay, we're at 51 minutes, so I'm gonna wrap us up.
Sounds
I'm
good.
going to wrap us up and send us off with one last thing. We're running into the spring season, but you wouldn't be able to tell here because it's snowing. And in the spring season, it gets into that's about when baking season starts. You start making pies. I associate spring with pies and cobblers and such. And I wanted to introduce you to one of my favorite cobblers, a very underrated fruit. It is a rhubarb cobbler. The New York Times has their own cooking branch, and I found this on there. It's an orange and rhubarb cobbler with vanilla bean. And the rhubarb is a tangy fruit. It's very acidic, similar to a citrus, but it's not quite a citrus, So I just wanted, if you guys want a fun recipe, I'm going to link the recipe in the description of this. And I think we could all use something a little bit fun to brighten up our days. So if you like baking or you enjoy stuff like this, for sure give it a try. Maybe if you like rhubarb and you haven't tried it before, let us know, and I'll be happy that I was able to point you in the right direction.
If tomato can be a fruit, rhubarb must be a vegetable. I rest my case.
Bye, guys.